A very good evening and welcome to Eswatini TV News at 8. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lindu Masubu and your sign language interpreter is Zama Nzimanze. Let's take a look at the top stories.
Her Majesty the Indlovukazi has arrived in the state of Qatar. The Prime Minister says developmental projects that have been funded by the World Bank are meant to improve the livelihoods of Eswatini, especially those in the rural areas. The Minister of Health says medicines and medical supplies deliveries to health facilities are ongoing.
Well, let's get straight into the news in detail. Her Majesty the Indlovukazi has arrived in the state of Qatar. Her Majesty arrived through Doha International Airport in Doha City.
Her Majesty the Indlovukazi was accorded a warm reception in Doha, state of Qatar. Her Majesty was received by the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Eswatini to the state of Qatar, His Excellency Social Dlamini. The Indlovukazi's visit to Qatar shines a spotlight on strides that have been made to upscale bilateral cooperation between the Kingdom of Eswatini and the state of Qatar. While the two nations enjoy relations that have culminated in the signing of various agreements in sectors that are considered key drivers of the economy, their Majesties have been calling for broader cooperation between the two countries. In 2022, the two nations signed an air services agreement. Recently, on the sidelines of the 5th United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries in Doha, His Majesty King Mswati III urged the Qatar Science and Technology Park to consider collaborating with the Royal Science and Technology Park in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Her Majesty the Indlovukazi is accompanied by a delegation that comprises His Royal Highness Prince Gcina, Her Royal Highness Princess Qethuka, Chief Gija, the Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, and the National Secretary, Nhlanhla Dlamini. On the news, I am Sandile Makanya in Doha, state of Qatar.
His Royal Highness Prince Banzile says understanding the Book of Revelation can help build morals and create unity amongst the people of Eswatini. Prince Banzile said this during the Book of Revelation seminar, which is held at the Sibane Sami Hotel in Eswatini.
This book has been misinterpreted across the globe. A lot of people are scared to even read it. Some people misunderstand it. Some people say, no, that book has been closed. No one can really narrate it properly. which is not the truth. Our language is in parables, and as well as the Bible, it uses parables. So for us as a Maswati, it should be easier for us to understand the symbolic language that is spoken about. Unfortunately, the beast has brought confusion and separation amongst all people across the globe. So with this more of a clear understanding, it brings us more together and united, and a more of a united moral understanding. Because as well with morals, we've had different morals, people believing different ways. However, again, that confusion has been brought by the beast that we are warned about in the book of Revelation.
The guest speaker, Dr. Ranko Stefanovic from the University of Andrew, Michigan in the United States of America says, the book of Revelation shows the purpose of God on earth and that God has a purpose to end all sufferings on earth.
So the book of Revelation is really the book that promises the hope, provides God's solution to all human problems, to bring them to that place that He planned and intended for them. And that's the full purpose of the book of Revelation.
The seminar is expected to proceed until this coming Saturday. Eswatini TV News is Sebenele Mthetho with Cindy Sozwane and Fortune Dlangamandle at Sibanisami Hotel, Zulwini.
The Prime Minister, Cleopas Lamini, says developmental projects that have been funded by the World Bank are meant to improve the livelihoods of Eswatini, especially those in the rural areas. The Premier was speaking when touring water and electricity projects in the Eswatini region.
The essence of the Eswatini Water Supply and Sanitation Access Project seeks to increase potable water supply coverage and sanitation in the Eswatini region, notably the corridor from Hlangano through Masanjeni, Somtongo to Lavumisa areas, which currently has a high population with limited access to potable water and sanitation. The project has 4 components. Component 1 includes the construction of reservoirs at key strategic areas. The government of Eswatini has to date supported the project with 37.5 million emalangeni, which is slightly over $2 million, while the World Bank has contributed $45 million. Another project that the Prime Minister inspected is the Access to Electricity project, which is targeting around 8,000 households in the Eswatini region. The project will also see the construction of an 87-kilometer line from Hlangano to Lavumisa. 2 substations will be constructed at Masanjeni and Lavumisa. The government of Eswatini, through financial assistance from the World Bank, has invested close to $1 billion in these projects.
We take the commitment that not only this project is implemented, and I know that Minister of Finance, they are always also mobilizing the resources so that it is a joint effort with your domestic resources.
The Prime Minister has applauded the World Bank for supporting Eswatini.
We thank the World Bank for the very, very impactful contribution that they have made. In both projects are financed by the World Bank, so they have really made a change in the lives of the people. The World Bank, of course, we are subscribers to the World Bank, but they are here every time we need something, they can come along. She has already assured us that should we want to expand the project, the assistance will be there. So we are very, very sure that this is a program that will be expanded, not just to Shiselweni and Dubombo, but the whole country.
Currently, the kingdom is sitting at around 87% in terms of water coverage, while electricity coverage is at 67%. For Eswatini TV News, I am Lincoln Gule, Hlangano.
The Minister of Health, Liz Nkosi, says medicines and medical supplies deliveries to health facilities are ongoing. The Minister says not all the medical supplies have been delivered. The ministry continues with emergency procurement.
Following the numerous reports on the shortage of medicines and medical supplies in hospitals, last month the Cabinet appointed a subgroup of ministers to assist in the procurement and deliveries of medicines and medical products to health facilities. Giving an update on the exercise, the Minister of Health, Liz Nkosi, said the government has started delivering medicines to hospitals and the situation is yet to normalize, even though not all medicines have been delivered.
leto tinkinga temithi sitamile kakhulu ukuthi imithi nato tonke izinto labatidingako tibe khona kuleli viki. Sibonge kulama suppliers laba asibambisa ukuthi bagijimise lokho. Akusho ke lokho ukuthi imithi seyikhona yonke. I-situation yemithi eveni iyachubeka iya-improve kancane kancane. Lokho kubangelwa ukuthi lapho si-order khona nabo baphindze badzinge ukuthi bayo-order. Tinfo tiyefika bayadeliver kodwa tihamba kancane kodwa la etibhedlela kunconywana.
The minister also said there are still medicines that are harder to source. However, the Ministry of Health continues with emergency procurement and deliveries. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkal Siwekoza with Sikumbuzo Dlamini, Babane.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health, Lizinkosi, says a total of 16 orthopedic patients were operated on, including 9 males, 3 females and 4 children under the newly set up orthopedic camp in Babane Government Hospital. The minister says the orthopedic camp was set up to resolve the backlog in orthopedic surgeries.
Following a challenge with a backlog of orthopedic cases in the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Health, through the Babane Government Hospital, is conducting mass surgical operations on patients with bone fractures and conditions under a model theme orthopedic camp, which will be conducted in a weekly cycle. The Minister of Health, Lizinkosi, says the camp targets patients who have already been sent by doctors and were listed to wait for surgical operations.
Kulomsebenzi lo wendiwe itolo nje bantfu labang-16 labalishumi nesithupha bakhonile usibahlinzwa kulabo bekuna-9 wabomake bomake labayimfica bobabili labayimfica bomake labathathu nebantfana labane ngu-16 lo. Liplan lethu-ke ukuthi ngeliviki ngelanga kwendiwe lo 16 ukuze kuthi nakuphela liviki sibe sesende 80. Siyacela sive ukuthi bangedi nje abantu batokuma embabane esibhedlela bamele kwekuthi batawu bese bangena elayinini. Laba bonke laba labatohlinzwa kulo 400 ngilase babona labanye basesibhedlela embabane labanye bakuletinye izibhedlela labanye bahlalele ngemakhaya lapho batawubitwa ngakhona. Siyacela ukuthi sive sibeketele batawuchubeka babitwe bantu bete ngeticheme kwendile ukuthi umsebenzi uhambe kahle. Sibekile ukuthi kuleli viki simcetse lo 80 lesimbhekile nakuleli viki lelitabo. Kutawusike emva kwaloko sibese siyathatha siphindze siyabuka ukuthi sesingaphindze siyendeni lenye camp ngoba phela kwendi camp lenjengale kusho ukuthi bodokotela abaningi basuswa emisebenzini yabo.
The minister appreciated the proactive efforts of the hospital management and their teams in ensuring that the backlog of orthopedic patients is attended to. She says the ministry remains committed to improving the health of all eMaswati. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekoza with Sikumbuzo Dlamini, Babane.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Communications and Technology, Peshea Dube, says data protection is key in the country's economic development. The PS was speaking during a consultation workshop on the country's data participation program hosted by the African Union Development Agency.
The African Union has completed the evaluation of the first decade of Agenda 2063 implementation, and one of the results coming out is that most citizens have no information about the African Union Agenda 2063. 3 years ago, the African Union then started a program that is being piloted in 10 African countries, including Eswatini, to help these countries build their capacities so they can close the gap between policy and citizens. The African Union Development Agency held a workshop with different stakeholders on data participation that was officially opened by the PS in the Ministry of ICT, who was represented by the US Macanjana Mota.
Data is very important for policy making and decision making, and it can help us understand the problems, the impact of their actions, and the best ways to achieve their goals. Data can also help policymakers communicate and justify their decisions to the public and other stakeholders.
Head of Strategy and Planning in the African Union, Dr. Gideon Nimako, shed a light on the objectives of the project.
We intend to strengthen the capabilities of member states by using digital and non-digital technologies to engage ordinary citizenry in the implementation of Agenda 2063. We want to provide easy to communicate information to ordinary citizens so that they can comprehend what government, regional, and continental bodies are doing. We want to use the data coming out of this implementation to improve the innovation ecosystems of member states and regional entities.
The meeting is to draft tools that will speak to the implementation of Agenda 2063 by the Kingdom of Eswatini. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Suekhoza with Zikumbuzo Dlamini, Ezulwini.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Sydney Similane, says the ministry will make sure that all farmers benefit from the agricultural funds in all the different farming institutions. The Principal Secretary explained this when giving details of how they ensure that money borrowed from the funds are returned by the farmers so that others can benefit.
To improve the farming sector and ensure food security, the Ministry of Agriculture has established funds and subsidy initiatives estimated at 100 million emalangeni. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Sydney Simelane, says strict control measures will be applied to ensure more farmers benefit from the funds.
It is very important to do a follow-up with these farmers. The main aspect or the main need for the follow-up is to make sure that they have the necessary extension services, which means we support them and we teach them how to do proper farming. Now, when it comes to collecting the money back to us, we have a number of ways in which we do it. One of the ways is to have contracts with the individual farmers. These farmers, they register with the various government parastatals or institutions. For instance, if we take the Horticulture Development Fund that is run by NAMPOD, we definitely have a contract because we want you to go and do the proper farming, and then after that we will take care of the produce because it will be collected and sold to NAMPOD. So that is where the contract comes in. And the contract is very important for us because it ensures that we are able to recoup the funds that we have given to you. For instance, those farmers that we provide with the inputs, at the end of the day, when they have sold their produce to us, we then deduct the funds that we gave them as inputs. So that is how we ensure that we get proper security for the funding.
A report by the World Bank focusing on agriculture in Eswatini in the year 2021 reveals that agriculture contributes about 8.14% in the country's economy. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla, Smuva Shongwe, Mbabane.
Eswatini Sugar Association made a donation of 500,000 malangeni to 6 organizations. The association's Chief Executive Officer, Banele Nyamane, says these organizations are well aligned with the association's corporate social investment interests in the areas of healthcare, education, sports, and the environment.
Eswatini Sugar Association Chief Executive Officer Banele Nyamane lists the organizations that benefited from this year's corporate social investment.
One of the organizations is the Diabetes Association of Eswatini, which received 200,000 malangeni. The other organization is the Cheshire Homes, which received 150,000 malangeni. We also contributed 50,000 malangeni to the Dental Association, which is an outreach program run by the Rotary Club of Mbabane. We also contributed 30,000 malangeni to the Biodiversity Network. We like it when the youth of this country embarks on looking after the environment, because as a producer of sugar around the world, we are also conscious to how we operate within the environment. We also donated money to the Royal Science Technology Park, who will be running a STEM Expo. We also participate in that because we rely much on sciences as well in terms of our production of sugar and also its manufacturing.
Eswatini Sugar Association contribute 5% to Eswatini gross domestic product GDP, and there are estimated to be 16,000 Emaswati employed in this sector, both on permanent and temporal basis. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, with Smuva Shongwe Mbabane.
The National Disaster Management Agency has met different stakeholders to formulate the disaster risk financing strategy. Speaking during the launch at the Happy Valley Hotel, the Chief Executive Officer, Russell Dlamini, says the formulation of the strategy will culminate to the formulation of the Disaster Management Fund, helping the country respond quicker to disasters.
We are actually here to launch the process of formulation of the disaster risk finance strategy, which will ultimately lead to the development of the Disaster Management Fund as per the dictates of the Disaster Management Act of 2006, Section 35. And so it is important because once we have the fund, then it's going to improve our preparedness for disaster risk management as a country.
The principal finance officer at the Ministry of Finance says they have come to support the formulation of the strategy.
Sisupporta le strategy ngoba siyade ukuthi live bese liba reactive uma sikhanzakala ukuthi kuba nema disasters la endako.
According to government, 500 million emalangeni was spent to rehabilitate damages caused by Cyclone Eloise in the year 2021. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla, Smuva Shongwe, Ezulwini.
Chief Police Information and Communications Officer Superintendent Pindile Vilagati says investigations by police yielded that the bomb scare reports at the Mbabane Magistrates Court, which came through the Eswatini National Fire and Emergency Services, were found to be untrue. Vilagati says the reports were investigated by the Royal Eswatini Police Disposal Unit.
The Royal Eswatini Police Services Chief Police Information and Communications Officer Superintendent Pindile Vilagati elaborates about the false alarm.
We acted promptly and we invited our expert in that matter, and in our investigation we found that there was no bomb. We are now investigating the report to ascertain if this was a genuine report with certain suspicion or it was purposed to scare the people in that area. So once we find out the reason for that, we're going to act accordingly, because if this was just purposed to scare the people, it is definitely punishable in the law. So we will do our investigation as police officers and we are going to act as it is expected.
Eswatini National Fire and Emergency Services Public Relations Officer Mandla Dlamini, in a telephonic interview, confirmed that the bomb scare was reported to them. He proceeded to state that the informer called their emergency line and asked to remain anonymous. He adds that the informer claimed to have seen two parcels that looked like a bomb. Dlamini apologizes to Emaswati for any inconvenience caused. However, he states that all the precautions taken were to save lives. At around 9 a.m., the magistrate court staff and everyone in the premises were ordered to quickly vacate the premises. Royal Eswatini Police Disposal Unit arrived at about 11 a.m. with their sniffing dogs to search for the alleged bomb. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Ngamandla with Smuva Shongwe and Mbabane Magistrate Court.
Now let's take a look at the financial indicators.
This sports update is proudly brought to you by eBet. Join our family of winners by visiting us today at ebet.co.sz. eBet, born to win.
In our sports roundup, we begin with the latest Momo votes under the ongoing Momo voting system by the supporters for the 2023 Momo Cup edition that has reached over 26.6 million votes, with Pigs Peak Black Swallows still leading the race with over 4 million votes.
In our sports roundup, we begin with the latest Momo votes under the ongoing Momo voting system by the supporters for the 2023 Momo Cup edition. And Singizini Hospital seems to be catching up in the race as they are now seated third in the race with over 3 million votes. The big guns, being Mbabane Highlanders, Mbabane Swallows, Manzini Wanderers and Morini Pirates, are all within the top 8 with over 2 million votes. In total, all the 28 clubs within the Premier League and National First Division have accumulated over 26.6 million votes. Pigs Peak Black Swallows still lead the race with over 4 million votes. The closing date will be on the 18th of September this year. Moving on with other stories, the Eswatini Referees Committee has begun processes of increasing number of women officiating in the country, especially at the Premier League and National First Division level. Chairman of the committee, Sipogunene, says it is indeed a challenge, but there is a process for the future.
Inkinga ke lekhona iba ukuthi labo make man bahamba bese baphela la ndleleni. But sisezama lo ukuthi sibakhuthade.
Moving on to our international news, Paris Saint-Germain star Neymar has told the club to release him as he wishes to return to Barcelona in Spain. There is also other reports suggesting that the 31-year-old Brazilian is being eyed by Chelsea in England. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
The Sports was proudly brought to you by eBet. Don't hesitate. Visit us today at ebet.co.sz. eBet, born to win.
And that's how we reach the end of tonight's bulletin. But before we leave, here is a reminder of the top stories. Her Majesty the Indlovukazi has arrived in the state of Qatar. The Prime Minister says developmental projects that have been funded by the World Bank are meant to improve the livelihoods of Eswatini, especially those in the rural areas. The Minister of Health says medicines and medical supplies deliveries to health facilities are ongoing. All right, that's it from us. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the weather forecast from all of us. Here is the Eswatini TV News team. It's good night.